This morning with local veterinarian Travis Luna. He's going to talk to us a little bit about pet care during this cold weather for our outdoor puppy dogs, kitty cats, whatever. Good morning, Travis. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Misty. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming. So we've got this winter weather possibility event coming up. What can you tell us about taking care of our animals in this cold weather?
Well, ideally, if you can, dogs and cats, you want to take them inside. And I realize that's not always an ideal situation for some people, but if you can, take them inside. And when you do, obviously, you need to be careful if you have any prescription medications lying around. Xylitol, chewing gum, chocolate, blood pressure medications, things like that. Those are some of the big calls we get. But if you can take them inside, that's ideally best.
Okay. And for those who can't, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to be upset with me right now, but I have two dogs that we keep them outside in a fenced-in area. We do put a heat lamp out in their house, and then you'll see them piled in there and the cat piled in there with them, and what risk are we taking by letting our animals stay outside?
There's a little bit of increased risk, of course, with the heat lamp in there. That certainly helps. You just have to be careful that, you're not going to start a fire or anything along those lines. As long as they have appropriate shelter, ideally that's best. Something that's elevated with cedar shavings or straw, that's great. They need access to fresh water, of course, and you would like to use plastic bowls if they're going to be outside as opposed to steel, just so their tongues don't get stuck to the steel bowl and it's super cold.
Oh, good idea.
And then sometimes you really need to increase their food content as well because they're going to burn more calories trying to stay warm. But as long as you can fulfill those food, water, shelter requirements, there's really no reason they can't stay outside, but you really need to know your individual pet's kind of cold tolerance levels. But as long as you're kind of following those guidelines, you should be in good shape.
Well, yeah, and we do. I didn't even think about the bowl not being metal, but we have heated bowls anyway.
Yeah, that's even better, actually. Yeah, that's perfect.
Now, and the reason I brought that up is because I noticed with mine, if I bring them in to cuddle or whatever, I don't know, 30 minutes they're in there, they're just panting like crazy.
That's right.
And want to get back outside. So to me, that says they're okay. They're not really too cold. They're too hot inside.
That's right. Kind of a guideline is if you're warm or you're cold, that's kind of the same kind of guideline you can kind of attest to your pet. A lot of people are under the mistaken impression that because they have fur, that they can tolerate cold extremes a little bit more than we can, and that's really not true. So they can certainly, get a lot of the panting you may see when they're inside is they're anxious, they have anxiety, they want to go outside, and that's certainly okay. You just have to kind of obviously do it in moderation.
Okay. So now I thought I had read that they grow an extra layer of fur to kind of compensate to help with that.
Some different breeds can. I know different times of the year they may shed or grow different coats, but for the most part, these guys are going to regulate just as best they can, and you still need to take into consideration how you're feeling. If you're hot, if you're cold outside, that's kind of the same effects that they're going to have.
Okay.
And obviously your larger breed dogs are going to be able to tolerate a little bit more longer legs, but thicker fur coats. But your breeds that are kind of short, stocky, thin coat, maybe their bellies hang low to the ground, they obviously are not going to be able to tolerate as much as some of your bigger, 80-pound lab breeds.
Okay. All right. And for those who, my question just left me. Oh, I know what I was going to ask. I've also heard that shaving their fur, like you let people do that in the summertime, is bad for them when it comes winter because it won't grow back. Is that correct?
That is true. Ideally, you want to avoid shaving their fur in the wintertime for obvious reasons. In the summer, it's a good thing, but in the winter, they really need the extra fur for that layer of insulation. So if you can avoid that, ideally, that's best. And in some breeds, if you do shave them, especially if you shave them down really, really short, sometimes their hair does not grow back kind of in the same as originally as it was there before, so you kind of have to be careful with what you do there. But ideally, we recommend not shaving them down in the wintertime.
Well, no, I guess I meant in the summer. Like I had heard that if you shave them at all, then it doesn't grow back, and so when it gets to winter, they don't have the fur.
That's a possibility. Like I said, some of these guys you shave down, they may not grow back at all, and it may not be original. But for the most part, if you're shaving them down during the summer, most breeds, with my experience, are kind of back to normal full force by wintertime.
I see.
But it really just depends on the individual and the breed.
Okay. How many do you get a lot of incidences where animals have suffered because of the extreme weather temperatures?
Yeah, actually, summertime for sure. We see lots of heat strokes, especially English bulldogs, kind of your short, chubby breeds with the short noses. But we see lots of heat stroke cases during the summer. In the wintertime, which obviously would pertain to us right now, we maybe see a few cases, maybe half a dozen, as far as hypothermia events, frostbite, things of that nature. But really, the summertime heat stroke events are the biggest thing that we see at our clinic.
And the ones that you see with the hypothermia, are those family pets or like maybe stray dogs? Or?
A lot of them are actually stray dogs. We have a lot of stray dogs in this area just because we're in rural Kentucky. And we have a lot of people that are driving down the roads who actually pick them up, which is a great thing. We have a lot of people out there with good hearts. But most of those cases that we see are neglect cases or stray dogs that people have picked up and brought into us to kind of get veterinary care.
I see. That's encouraging. So at least.
Yeah, it is. It's great to have people out there that care about their pets. Obviously, that's a good marker of our culture and our society when we take care of our pets and we take care of each other.
Mm-hmm. And I love my animals to death. And like I said, I know a lot of people are going to be upset that I keep mine outside, but I do watch mine. And, you know, if they show any signs of distress, I mean, one of my dogs had a stroke. And it wasn't like a bad weather thing. There wasn't any reason for it, as you know, I'm sure. He had a stroke, and I mean, it nearly killed me. Yeah. I didn't know what was going on. It scared me to death. And describe for people what it's like for an animal to have a stroke.
So strokes are a little bit different in humans versus animals, but I guess the most alarming aspect is that, most clients don't know what a stroke is going to look like in a dog. And so that's where the fear and the anxiety kind of comes from. But it's basically, it's a cardiovascular event. They throw a blood clot somewhere, and sometimes you can see a wide range of reactions, but a lot of them are neurological. They may lose their balance. They can't walk. They're very anxious. They're panting. They just really seem out of it. And so, those are kind of some basic clinical signs of it, not to get too detailed into it. But the anxiety or the fear that you feel or that clients fear is from kind of the unknown. And obviously that's where, we come in there. But, if you can educate yourself, especially with older dogs, are kind of be predisposed to events like that. But obviously, knowing kind of what's going on and having a veterinarian close by, one that you can consult with, can hopefully help alleviate those fears and anxieties.
Well, yeah, and that was exactly my situation. I had no idea. I'd never seen it before. He was lethargic. He couldn't move, could not move. And I just went ballistic. And it had been raining that day, and he could not get to his house.
Right.
And I was at work all day, and I came home, and he was, so he was a bit, he hadn't reached hypothermia yet, but his temperature was low. And, this was after hours, of course, so I got to pay a nice little
emergency fee, I'm sure, yeah. And that's where it comes in handy, even if you can have your dog examined just a minimum of once a year, especially older dogs, because, if they have underlying conditions like diabetes, Cushing's disease, thyroid disease, cardiovascular issues, they're not going to be able to handle, extreme variations in temperature, whether it's super cold, super hot. And so those are things you're going to want to know as an owner. So just like you were doing, you're watching your animals, which is exactly what you need to do. But those type of patients, you're going to want to watch obviously a little bit closer, because they're not going to be able to handle those extremes like some of your more robust, young, larger breed dogs while they're outside.
Right. Well, he's a smaller dog, and he's not old, but he just, and then, so we don't know why he had it, but then 6 months to the day later, he had another one.
Oh, wow.
And I knew not 6 months, 3 weeks to the day later. And I knew what it was, so it didn't terrify me.
Yeah, it wasn't as alarming. You knew what to kind of expect at that point.
I did. So I called my vet, and I was like, do I need to bring him back in? What? Because, she told me, and I guess I'm sure you advise yours the same way, there's really nothing you can do. You just have to wait it out.
That's right. You try to give them basically supportive care is kind of the encompassing term that we use. If they need fluids, you give them fluids, antibiotics, pain meds, but really there's not a lot in the animal realm that we can do for these guys, because obviously they're not human. There's just a different in the type of care that they receive. So we try to provide supportive care, basically keep them comfortable, keep them pain-free, keep them eating and drinking if they can, and give their body an attempt to kind of heal from that process.
Right. And that's what she did. So the first time, you know, he had to stay overnight because he needed some fluids because, like I said, his temperature dropped and, you know, all that. The second time, since we were more aware and watched him and, you know, because I kept my eye on him really close after that. And when it happened, we got it soon enough that she said, no, just watch him and keep him home. And, you know, it was okay.
Yeah, and it's definitely nice having a veterinarian on call at all hours of the night that clients can reach to kind of help with situations like that. Because I can imagine being in your shoes or another client's shoes, not knowing what's going on, and you know, pets these days are thought of better than people's kids sometimes. So
yeah.
It's good to have that resource if it's available.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you have to pay for it, but
yeah,
it's good that's
yeah,
there.
that's right. That keeps the world going. That's for sure.
That's right. Travis, what else can you tell us about animal care in the wintertime?
Obviously, we talked about you know, having access to food, fresh, unfrozen water, and shelter. But you know, with these shorter days, it's always important if you're going to be out walking. Obviously, you have your dog on a leash, collar. Having reflective gear on would be ideal, especially as these days are getting shorter. You know, some people like to put pet sweaters and foot booties on their pets' feet, and the big thing is you want to be sure if you're walking them, they're checking their feet for ice accumulation. A lot of the de-icers that the road department will put on the sidewalks and roadways will accumulate on your pet's feet, so you may need to take some wipes with you, wipe their feet down, or when you get home, check their feet, wash that stuff off, because it is kind of nasty stuff. You don't want that. Obviously, you want to avoid frozen ponds and lakes for obvious reasons, streams included. If you work out in the garage, you know, try to clean up your antifreeze, any oil rags, so dogs and cats don't eat those as foreign bodies. Obviously, antifreeze is highly poisonous. We do see a few cases of that every year. And the big thing is be prepared for power outages. You know, just like you'd prepare yourself, you know, have extra food and water for your pet. If they're on medications, be sure you have extra medications for them. And I would say at a minimal, you want to have at least a 7-day supply. I know growing up in the March storm in Tennessee of 1993, which, you know, from Middle Tennessee, I think we experienced a 14-day power outage, which is pretty extreme, especially in days like today. But you want to be sure that, you know, you can take care of your pet during that time, and be sure you can take care of yourself, obviously, but try to prepare with your pet as well. And then probably one last thing I would mention is, and this is for your cat enthusiast, is, you know, on the cold days when you're out and about to start your car, you might make some noise as you're walking up to your car, maybe bang on the hood, make some noise. That way, if there is a cat that has decided to take a nap on that warm engine block from the previous night or on the tire, that they have an opportunity to escape, because we probably see, I don't know, 6 to a dozen cases a year of cats that get caught in the fan belt of cars, and some of those can be pretty catastrophic. So those would be the biggest tips I'd have to offer for you.
Yeah, I think every vehicle at my house has cat prints all over it.
Yeah, mine too. If you go out, you go look at the hood of my car, you see them all over.
From the hood to the windshield to the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, and that's some good advice. You know that, and I think that has happened once in at my house. But now the good news is nothing. It was not a bad thing. They heard the cat meowing. I guess they had gotten to town and heard the cat meowing, and, you know, found it in the under the hood. So
yeah,
he was good. He was safe. No harm. But yeah, after that,
and you hear stories of cats like that have taken, you know, hundreds of miles road trips from one state to the other and somehow miraculously make it out okay. So those are pretty incredible, but those are few and far between. So it's best to play it safe on these in these situations. And if you remember to do so in the morning, you know, make some noise. Give that cat an opportunity to get out of there.
I'm sure my neighbors would appreciate me going out at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm getting in my car and blowing my air horn. So
yeah, you've got a unique job for that. So.
I do, but hey, you know what? My cat needs to be safe, so that's all right. Okay, anything else you can add for us?
No, I think that's it.
Well, I sure do appreciate you coming in here, Travis. You know, we get so many interesting conversations in here, and this one is one of them I think could go on forever. We do have some other guests going, though, so we will have you back.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back sometime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Travis Luna, and, you know, give your pets a warm place to go. And just for the record, if the power does go out, I will bring mine in.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louis found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $500 million for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louis has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louis.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-359-6844. 800-359-6844. 800-359-6844.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Rain's going to move into the forecast by about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and snow after 5 with a high today of 38. Snow overnight